Frank Martin responded to co-loss against Gervonta Tank Davis. It was shortly after Frank was knocked out by Gervonta Davis that he took part in a talk that was both open and honest about his performance, as well as his goals and hopes for the future. Throughout the course of the conversation, Frank's performance in the fight was the subject of discussion. In spite of the setback, Frank maintained a positive attitude on his job, and he indicated that his main objective was to continue to develop and come back even stronger than he was before. The very first thing that Frank did was to acknowledge the vast diversity of answers that were received from supporters. This was the very first thing that Frank did. In the event that I were to get some followers, I would consider it to be a tremendous blessing. There is a great deal of gratitude amongst us. It's possible that I, too, lost some, but the fact of the matter is that things are the way they are. He mentioned with a sense of contentment, "I'm going to keep going, come back stronger, and get better." At this very time, he is focusing his attention on developing his skills, acquiring information from the experience, and gaining knowledge from the opportunity that has presented itself to him. An unexpected viewpoint was presented by the individual conducting the interview, who stated that they considered that Frank's fan base might have really expanded as a result of his resilient performance. Due to the fact that it implies something, it is amazing that this interpretation offers that interpretation. When Frank was on the ropes but continued to fight back instead of giving up, a considerable portion of the spectators commended his perseverance and fighting spirit. Their applause was directed toward his fighting spirit. In particular, this was the case during the times when he was acting in this manner. In particular, this was the situation throughout the parts of the fight in which he was the one who was on the ropes. It was throughout the course of my interaction with the crowd that I overheard individuals saying how amazed they were with you. Their words were clear to me, and I was able to understand them. In spite of the fact that you were unable to get out of a challenging circumstance, you persisted in fighting for the things that you believed in. The person who is conducting the interview was made aware of the fact that you are not giving in to the pressure that is being applied to you. By conducting a comprehensive analysis of the dispute at some point in the future, Frank aims to identify certain parts of the conflict that could be improved by adopting some alterations. He will do this in order to identify areas in which the conflict could be improved. It is because of this that he does not have any specific opponents in mind at this time. This is because he needs some time to mentally process the fact that he has just been defeated for the first time. As a consequence of this, he does not imagine any particular adversaries in his mind. "I'm going to watch the fight, see what I could have done better, identify my mistakes, and also recognize what I did well," he said in an interview with the media. "I'm going to do all of these things. Both of these things are important to me. As of right now, I am not aware of any particular adversary that I am taking into mind with regard to my strategy. All of them do not pique my curiosity in any way. As of this very moment, the process of working through my first setback, figuring out what went wrong, and figuring out how I might improve my performance is not yet complete. I have not yet finished the process. It is necessary for me to engage in this activity." He was able to pinpoint a defining moment that functioned as a crucial turning point in the argument after giving the issue some thought. Frank was able to do this after he had given it some thought. As the fight began, he was constantly moving around in an effort to keep himself active and avoid Davis' strikes. He was also continually moving around. Additionally, he was attempting to avoid getting hurt. Not only that, but he was also making an effort to avoid being hit by Davis. I would walk about quite a bit when I first began out in an effort to keep up the same level of physical activity that I had been performing previously. In order to maintain my energy levels for the succeeding rounds, I started to slow down as the rounds continued until I reached the end of the competition. The other side of the coin is that I was able to lessen the amount of physical activity that was beneficial to me in order to be able to function at a more leisurely pace. He explained. Davis was able to make the most of the opportunity that was offered to him as a consequence of the alteration of his techniques, which resulted in a decline in the efficiency of his movement. Therefore, Davis was able to take advantage of the opportunity that was presented to him. When dealing with an opponent like Davis, who is able to maintain front foot pressure without throwing a considerable amount of blows, the problem manifested itself in a manner that was completely different from anything that had occurred in the past. Frank came to the idea that he might have been more aggressive with his blows, rather than fleeing or turning to the side during the course of the fight. He became aware of this knowledge as the fight progressed. Specifically, this was the thing that he learned from the event. It was challenging to engage in combat with someone who maintained front foot pressure, but did not deliver a significant number of blows. This was a challenge from a mental standpoint. Competition against this kind of adversary was challenging to say the least. Frank had the idea that he could have been more aggressive with his fists rather than merely moving to the side or back of the ring. This was the thinking that occurred to him. There are a variety of factors that led him to arrive at this opinion. Self-reflection was the catalyst that led to Frank coming to this revelation, which he accomplished by his own actions. When he was increasing the amount of pressure, I ought to have fought back more. Additionally, I came to the realization that I was sitting on the ropes far too frequently, rather than remaining in the middle of the ring. This was a startling revelation for me. The fact that I made this mistake was a huge one. I will make it a high priority to work on improving the skills that I have obtained through this experience if I want to be successful in the future. I have gained these skills through this experience. According to Frank, I was able to acquire a great deal of knowledge during my time there, which was the conclusion of his statement. During the time that he was applying pressure, I was able to put up a more consistent and powerful resistance to the activities that he was taking. In order to achieve my objective of preparing myself for the future, I need to put some effort into these things. My goal is to prepare myself for the future. Due to the fact that he was defeated, Frank has not wavered in his commitment to his boxing career, and he is determined to return to the ring with enhanced talents in terms of both his technique and his preparation. Frank is dedicated to his own growth and improvement, and he has a well-defined approach to analyze his performance and ensure that he makes the necessary adjustments. He is passionate about his own development and advancement. In addition to this, he is dedicated to his personal development and advancement. The cultivation and advancement of his own personal growth is something that he is intensely enthusiastic about. It is possible that fans may look forward to watching Frank in future battles as a fighter who is more competent and resilient than he has been in the past. The reason for this outcome is that Frank is dedicated to obtaining the best potential level of accomplishment in the ring, which is the reason for this result. An individual who is willing to face future challenges head-on and emerge victorious is someone who has the potential to be regarded as a genuine champion. The mentality of a great champion is depicted here in a way that is absolutely ideal. One of the most compelling examples of this strategy is the fact that he is willing to grow and improve as a result of this experience, and that he intends to come back much more powerful and stronger than he was before. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.